Thanks, guys, for joining. The Ekahau presentation will probably take way less than an hour, way less than 45 minutes, so we'll save some time for the 10 talks, make them 12 talks, whatever. Okay. How many of you guys are using our tools, the Ekahau tools? That's a bit different than a few years ago. Thank you very much for using them, and as always, keep sending the feedback. Who is using something else besides our stuff? All right, quite a few. So, Dilip, you too. Yeah, this won't be then probably of interest to you guys. So, Thank you. Yeah, I had it coming. All right, so today we're going to quickly talk about the... I need to stay there? Should. All right. This here? My spot. All right, so going to talk about the 9.0, at least some of the features that come into it. There will be much more. And before you ask when is it out, it's going to be out, what are we targeting? 222, right? 22nd of February. So that's timed nicely with the Wireless LAN Pros. So that's when we should be shipping the product and kind of announcing it. But since you guys are the community, we'll be pre-announcing it here. This is us. If you are not on Twitter, join and follow us if you will. And this is me 15 years ago. So that's you can see what Wi-Fi tools does to you, the radiation and stuff. And that's Mikko 10 years ago. So yeah, he's certainly developed since the early Ekahau days. That's actually from a company party. Anyways, quick recap from recent couple of years. What's happened? So if you're still on the previous version, so ESS 8.0 brought obviously WoW, which is the only completely automatic wall outliner, and also the wall material editor. Then we put out 8.1, PDF, 2.4 disabling, stuff like that. 8.5 brought RTFM and the spectrum analysis integration. Also the WoW layout selection, which is a great help. And then 8.6, if you're not on it and you're using Windows, you might want to switch over, since 8.6 brought, what do we call it? High resolution support for Windows, so you can actually make sense out of the screen again, since the screens are getting so high res that it was hard to kind of make out the fonts and stuff. And we'll be experiencing the same problem here, but for a different reason today in the demo. Yeah, and the Mac version went beta also in 8.6. Anybody tried the Mac version? Quite a few of you. And any experiences? It works. Good. Does what it's supposed to. All right. And I just checked this out, counted them myself, while using Excel, but took lines from the release notes, and that's what we've done in the last 2.5 years, plus the antennas that are thrown on top of that. And how many in 2.5 years? Maybe 500-600 APs, antennas, stuff like that. Anyway. We're trying to, keep the momentum going and keep you guys happy, but anything you come up with, just let us know. So today we're going to talk about Wi-Fi network planning, and there's a few problems with the current, especially the current auto planners in the industry, and that's kind of why we started looking at the ESS 9.0 capacity planner. The first problem is this. This is the most obvious one, and our planner is also at times guilty of this. AP overpopulation, right? Which leads to this. So, even the best of planners tend to cause a lot of CCI by overpopulating the environment. And then there's another problem, right? Hallway phi. So the planner doesn't understand where the hallways are, so it just plays. For some reason, they try to prefer the hallways quite often. which leads into this, which leads into enormous CCI. And then this is very much a manual effort, disabling 2.4 radios. Certainly, I don't know of any auto planner that would do this today. And then they don't do really dual 5 gigahertz either. We support manually adjusting for dual 5 in ESS, and we support manually disabling the 2.4 radios, but the auto planner doesn't do that. So, and this is probably the biggest problem, at least with our current planner. It doesn't do high density areas versus lower density areas. So you can put in the amount of required capacity, but it kind of goes throughout the building. There's only one set of devices that you can put in per project, and it divides them evenly across the floors and across the areas. So to summarize, that's that. Also, there's work to do on the ease of use of the planners as well. So what are we doing about it? In ESS 9, we will give you the ability to define high capacity areas, and this is pretty straightforward. So you draw different areas, put in how many devices, put in also the coverage requirement like voice or data or whatever. And of course you can go deeper into indicating device types and applications around the devices and spatial streams and stuff. We also completely rewrote the AP placement algorithm. So most importantly, it avoids AP overpopulation. So if there's no spectrum reuse available, if spectrum reuse is just not there, it doesn't try to solve the problem by adding more and more APs. It That's probably, and thank you, Keith, much appreciated. That's probably the biggest problem with the current planner, is just not understanding when to stop. It's the same problem as the sales guy has, right? And once Ekaho is bought by Cisco, then we'll do that again, bring back the feature of overpopulation. No, I'm kidding. Also, we wanted to make the auto planner smarter. So it avoids now hallway phi automatically. So it tries to prefer, it understands where the hallways are, kind of using a bit similar technology as the wall outlining wizard does for the wall simplification, but it does it in a different way. So tries to identify where are the hallways, where are the small rooms like restrooms, where are the elevator shafts, and then it tries to, avoid those locations the best it can. Sometimes it's just not feasible, but most of the times it does that. We also rewrote the channel planning algorithm so that we could accommodate for two things, automatically disabling 2.4 and supporting dual 5 gigahertz, like the Cisco 3800s. And then to make the capacity calculations more accurate, these were fixed values in ESS 8.6 still, but now we're bringing in number of SSIDs, configuration of minimum data rates, as well as the band steering. I guess the question to you is, what kind of granularity do we really need in terms of configuring the minimum data rate? What if we only had one selection for 2.4 and one for 5, which would be just, choose the minimum data rate here? Is that sufficient? Or do we need all of this to accurately predict capacity? Yeah? So you need another set. Okay, we can come back to this, but that's that. So how does it work? Let's take a look at where we are. So not completely ready yet. We're using a development build, and I hope you can see some of it. If you can't, feel free to step closer. So what we're going to do is a quick network plan. So just import a random university found off of the internet floor plan. And then what Mikko did was the WOW layout selector to kind of automatically take a cleaner layout of the drawing. Now select some of the wall materials. This is probably familiar to most of you. And then just bring it in. So before we only had one area to define. We only kind of, and let's look at that. If you hide the walls and let's do a plan first for the entire floor. And this is what kind of what happened before. So just indicate the desired area of coverage. And you can already see that next to the toolbar there, you have a few selectors like the area name, what kind of coverage for this area, and what kind of capacity. So let's do VoIP and let's say, a few hundred devices. Put in 500 so that we get some actual... We can do that as well. I don't think it will overpopulate. So now, previous version, we probably could start overpopulating this based on the capacity demand. But let's see what happens here. So we'll do Cisco AP 3800s operating on dual band mode, so 2, 4, and 5. And we did optimization for 5 gig, and we had a decent capacity. And as you can see, the auto planner actually automatically disabled 4 of the 2.4 gig radios. And don't look at the channel numbers. The channel planner isn't completely finished, so it didn't make it to this build. Actually, it disabled 5 of the radios. So how many APs do we have? 3, 6, 9. We have 13 APs, and out of those, 4 were disabled automatically. And I think the plan makes pretty good sense. It put maybe 2 APs on the hallways, but that's fine because the other APs are not on the hallways. And new thing about the auto planner is also if there's areas that you need to cover. Anyway, what I was trying to say is if there's areas you need to cover with signal, it doesn't mean that the planner will still place APs in those areas necessarily if there's bleed through from another area. So it absolutely tries to always minimize the number of required APs and prefer not to overpopulate. So that's kind of the plan with the 9.0 when it comes to decent amount of capacity and VoIP coverage. So let's put in a few high capacity areas. So you use the same tool for both, defining the first coverage area and then providing additional coverage areas. And now bear in mind that this area here. Sorry, I'm walking again in front of the screen. I shouldn't do that. So now that we're marking these areas with capacity, these will be the higher density areas with a few hundred clients each. Then the rest of the area will be serving those initially put in 500 clients. So we're moving those 500 clients to be only in the background area, so to speak. And these guys will then have, let's say, 300 clients each. All right. All right, one more. And you're going to put basic connectivity there. Okay, so we have 2 high capacity areas, 1 basic connectivity area. How much do we have on that? All right. So 300, 300. On the 2 right-hand side areas, we have 300 clients each. Excuse me. On the background, we have a few hundred, and then we have a basic connectivity area in the middle that doesn't have any capacity requirements. So we'll recalculate. It's your mother. So here we go. As you can see, The area on the left that had a basic requirement, it actually doesn't have any APs inside, and this is just an example of it doesn't need any APs because it bleeds through from the other areas. Whereas these couple of areas here with 300 clients each, they now have obviously a more concentrated, more dense set of APs close to them or in them. So that's kind of how the new capacity planner will work. Less APs except where it's needed. Yep.
Oh, sorry. Is there something in the algorithm that keeps them near the edges rather than in the middle of those high capacity areas? Both of the high capacities look like it's leaning to the outside.
I think they're probably, I've seen the same, and we see the same here as well. I think the answer is yes, so that it benefits both areas. It benefits the conference room as well as the other areas. But I'll need to ask for more details. Yeah. Sure, let's look at the more detailed capacity settings, because this has also changed. So we kind of tried to streamline it, and you remember how we put in the number of client devices in the main window. The default distribution is 50% laptops, 50% smartphones, because we thought we need to come up with the most usual use case. And that's kind of what we came out with. So 50% laptops, 50% smartphones, and then of course you can start adjusting from here. So if you want to switch the megabytes per second per client, you want to change the client type, you want to change the number of clients. And once you do that, then you have full customizability, but then you will lose the ability to put it in the main UI.
Sure, so we can go into very details with the applications these devices are using and so on. The list is not ready, as you can see, but we're working with that.
These ones with the integrated antennas, correct. But of course you can use, just like before, you can use any external ones as well. But yeah, that's kind of that, right? Also, can you bring back the presentation? So what we're hoping is the new auto planner gives you a better starting point to start working with and to start fine-tuning the network. That's kind of the hope. Next slide, please. Oh. So also in 9.0 we are getting Mac out of beta as well. So right now it's in beta for a good reason, for this, for site survey. It's not the ideal machine. And we're also working on among other things, there will be a lot of stuff at 9.0 or before, but copy-paste is one of the key things. And we understand that, manual network designers and, network design in general, it requires that. But that's the update on where we are currently with some of the features in 9.0. Now would be a good time for questions. Scott. Yeah, channel overlap.
than you know, 2 APs on the same channel with a 1 meg lowest rate and you know, 10 SSIDs. So you talked about the lowest rate, so it'd be useful if that same logic could be pulled into that that heat map.
So let me summarize. What you're looking for is like a channel overlap severity, not just for the number of APs, but how much airtime is consumed per channel, something like that.
Essentially, because that's, I mean, if you know you're not going to get more capacity than that one channel, that's fine, but it's the channel utilization that all of that overhead is, you know, that's the problem, really.
That's funny that you say that. So we have been thinking of bringing the, like, some kind of a channel overlap, or not channel overlap, but channel utilization from background frames type of feature as well into the, if not 9.0, then not 9.0, says Mikko, to get it shipped at some point. But yeah, that's been discussed. I think we need to continue discussions and kind of specify on what it should look like and what it should include.
Right. Okay.
Because all that is being calculated, for example, by the capacity planner.
Right.
Any other questions? Here?
When you have network issues view, if you have a different defined, so those areas have different requirements, is that reflected in the network issues heat map? That's the first one. And if you do capacity planning, do you normally take into account MCS? Say, like those close to the access point would have higher MCS. So that's the question.
Let's start with question number 2. Do we take into account MCS when we calculate the capacity, and you know, the further out you go from the AP, the MCS drops? Yeah, absolutely. All of that is being calculated based on, you know, signal strength, SNR, client device, AP capabilities, stuff like that. And the first question was, will these different requirements, since we now have different requirements in different locations, will they be affected or will they be reflected in network health visualization and capacity health? And the answer is absolutely yes. And we may need to come up already in 9.0 with 1 or 2 additional capacity related visualizations because of this new way to show it. So yeah, we'll revise some of that. Other questions?
Maybe this is already a feature, but I'm just curious, can you do simulation of the received sensitivity of the access points? If you adjust that to simulate the settings, what will happen?
No, you cannot simulate the...
Okay. Yet.
Product. So our research guy has implemented that, but just for the background calculations. We are not sure how we're going to productize that in the end.
Any other questions? Of course, Twitter hashtag ESS request is always open, as is our tech support, as are we. So, you know, any questions you have later on, hit us up. Nothing? Good. Well, then that's it. Thank you, guys. I think we saved some time for the rest of the guys.
Great. Thank you very much.